and get my tone stack all set up. Can you believe this guy?
Come on, you piss.
Here's a tune I'm working on right now.
I have been so interested in aluminum guitar necks for so long that I decided to finally pull the trigger on an aluminum guitar neck. I guess let's just go back to the very beginning of how this all started, and if you'll allow me to indulge myself in going back to my script that I forgot to open before doing this. I was out late at a show last night and I'm a little hungover, so you'll have to just bear with me here for all of the stupidity. Are aluminum guitar necks the future of guitar playing? Nope. Okay, thanks guys. Every guitar that I have played in my life has been leading to this guitar. Why this guitar? Why the aluminum neck? I'm ripping on aluminum necks, but yet I'm playing an aluminum neck and I'm saying it's my favorite guitar. What's going on here, Max? Well, I've owned so many guitars, and I've played so many guitars, I've done repairs on instruments the world over to varying degrees of success and admiration for my peers. And I've played so many that I feel like I just know what I want, and what I want is not as complicated as I initially made it out to be. Coming from a Strat player's perspective, you get 3 pickups. You get 5 combinations, and on the Strat that I currently own, which is a Jimmy Vaughn signature with the soft V down here and real thick, so that Strat, that pickup selector has a 10-way switch in it, has a freeway switch, which if you don't know about that, I'll put a link up here. The freeway switch gives you 10 pickup position selections instead of just 5, so you have 5, and then if you flick it over, you get another 5, and you can wire it basically however you want. And so I basically wired it in one of the standard ways where you get telly sounds, so you can get just the 2 on the edges, which you can't normally in normal Strat configuration. So I've done a lot of modding, okay? I once built this Abomination type guitar. I built the body myself. I had a Strat configuration. I had a 10-way switch. I had phase selection. I had, series parallel switching on everything. And I just kind of learned that it's just a little too cumbersome to play live. And playing live has become something that I want to do more. And from my experience playing,
And get my tone stack all set up. Can you believe this guy?
come on, you piss.
Here's a tune I'm working on right now.
I have been so interested in aluminum guitar necks for so long that I decided to finally pull the trigger on an aluminum guitar neck. I guess let's just go back to the very beginning of how this all started, and if you'll allow me to indulge myself in going back to my script that I forgot to open before doing this. I was out late at a show last night and I'm a little hungover, so you'll have to just bear with me here for all of the stupidity. Are aluminum guitar necks the future of guitar playing? Nope. Okay, thanks guys. Every guitar that I have played in my life has been leading to this guitar. Why this guitar? Why the aluminum neck? I'm ripping on aluminum necks, but yet I'm playing an aluminum neck, and I'm saying it's my favorite guitar. What's going on here, Max? Well, I've owned so many guitars, and I've played so many guitars, I've done repairs on instruments the world over to varying degrees of success and admiration for my peers. And I've played so many that I feel like I just know what I want, and what I want is not as complicated as I initially made it out to be. Coming from a Strat player's perspective, you get 3 pickups, you get 5 combinations, and on the Strat that I currently own, which is a Jimmy Vaughn signature with the soft V down here and real thick, so that Strat, that pickup selector has a 10-way switch in it, has a freeway switch, which if you don't know about that, I'll put a link up here. The freeway switch gives you 10 pickup position selections instead of just 5. So you have 5, and then if you flick it over, you get another 5, and you can wire it basically however you want. And so I basically wired it in one of the standard ways where you get tele sounds, so you can get just the 2 on the edges, which you can't normally in normal Strat configuration. So I've done a lot of modding, okay? I once built this Abomination type guitar. I built the body myself. I had a Strat configuration. I had a 10-way switch. I had phase selection. I had, series parallel switching on everything. And I just kind of learned that it's just a little too cumbersome to play live. And playing live has become something that I want to do more. And from my experience playing bass in bands, the simpler the instrument is that I have, the less that can go wrong. That's why I pulled the bridge pickup out of my Mustang bass, because I like the P sound. I rarely use the bridge on that bass, so I was like, if I'm not using it, then I'm pulling it out of the circuit. 1, because it's just adding impedance, and 2, because it's adding another failure point. The more things you add onto a guitar, the more failure points there are. And so I went so far with the modding, so far with all this, that I kind of came to the realization that the more points that you have to do cool, interesting stuff, the more failure points you have. So that's the reason why something like the Telecaster has lived for so long. Not even this specific one, but a standard Telecaster has existed for so long, is because it's so simple. It's 2 pickups, 3-way switch, volume, tone, right? I'm now viewing guitars with a different philosophy in mind. And that philosophy is make a guitar that will never need to be repaired, that will never need upkeep, that will not break, that will not become faulty in the future, so that you can just play. What I wanted to make essentially is the forever guitar. The guitar that I will never have to repair or maintain. So let me tell you why the aluminum neck fits into my narrative of what I need on the guitar right now, and how that differs from the aluminum neck narrative that's kind of out there right now. But before we get into that, here are some musts for my project. Little or no hum on stage, right? If there's hum in the circuit, it's not coming from me. And I still like the sound of single coils. So that means what I need is a light sounding humbucker. These humbuckers, these wide range humbuckers, are perfect for that. This is kind of like a good in between the sort of PAF sounding humbucker and the bridge that I like, and also kind of a single coily thing. I really like these pickups a lot. So that was a check, right? I wanted a sturdy body, okay? The Telecaster to me screams just rugged industrial sturdiness, right? Everyone who owns a Telecaster knows that they are indestructible. The body is just one solid slab, and this deluxe is full thickness, so I was like, okay, that also checks another box. And it's got this guy. I appreciate the belly cut. I like the belly cut. Glad to have it. I wish that we had one of these, but then I might as well have just gotten a Strat body, right? I went for the 2 pickup model, not because I wanted 2 pickups, but because it was cheaper. So this is a weird guitar thing. So I wanted to get the Paranormal Esquire series Telecaster with the 1 bridge pickup, volume, tone, and then the rotary switch to give you different capacitor sounds. I think it's similar to like the 336, I believe, has a kind of rotary switch where you can get different scooped mids. And I thought that was a really cool idea, but it's like a $430 instrument, and I couldn't find any B-stock bodies online. Sometimes you can just find the body and then find a neck and Frankenstein them together, and you can save money. but I couldn't find any of that. So I ended up just finding this Squier Telly Deluxe body for like less than $200, I think. And it had a couple of paint chips. It had this guy, but it's on the back, so I don't really care. And also, if this is going to be the Indestructocaster, it's going to take some hits. You know, my philosophy with this is I wanted to be able to just use this as a baseball bat if I wanted to. Like, I want to smash someone. Not someone. Wanted to be able to destroy a house with this thing. So I don't really care if it gets scraped up. In fact, I'm encouraging that kind of behavior. So this was cheaper, and I'm okay with 2 pickups because they're bright sounding. They don't seem to be getting in the way of each other. And I didn't want to kick myself later down the line if I went too minimalist with it. Like, let's say I bring this guy. If I really want this to be my forever guitar, I'm going to need some variety of tone options, right? So a little bit of a, you know... You got that thin kind of bridge sound, not exactly a single coily. I love modding, and it's my biggest dilemma, to mod or not to mod. It's so hard for me to not mod. Not modding anymore. Let's talk about the other parts of this. So I knew that I wanted humbuckers, I knew I wanted a telly body. Seemed like an obvious choice. But what's going on with the bridge? Some of you guys might be asking. So the collar trem. I bought this collar trem for that Abomination guitar that I was telling you guys about, where I put like a million different switches and pots and whatever into it just to get every possible tone combination. I also put a collar X trem on that guitar. A little maximalist of me, but that's okay. You have to go a little maximalist in order to understand that minimalism might be a better choice. But the collar X trem is very cool because you don't need to route out the whole back. On a Floyd Rose, you would have to route the top and then all the way through, and then you'd also have to route on the back. But you don't have to do that with the collar X trem. All you need is routing on the top. And that's because this works on a cam. It's still on the spring, but the entire bridge rotates around a cam. And I actually don't have the trem arm with it right now, which is really sad. I don't know where it went. But to be honest with you, that to me is more of a studio must. It's more of an effects must. And I find that when I have it on the guitar, it's very distracting. Because similar to like how notorious guitar YouTuber has pointed out, once you have a collar trem and you have the arm on, every solo becomes a Kerry King solo very quickly, so you want to avoid that. So because I tend to be more songwriting focused, it gets a little distracting. If I want to whip a crazy solo, of course I'll pull it out and I'll do it, but it's very distracting otherwise. So yeah, so the collar trem, I also just think it looks really nice. I think it's beautiful. With the aluminum neck, I knew it was going to be sort of an industrial look, so the having a crazy looking tremolo on here kind of makes sense with that. Yeah, so now that we've covered the humbuckers, the telly body, the electronics, the bridge, let's talk about the neck. This is a Robot Graves aluminum chambered neck, round back version. So it's a normal telly scale. You guys are not going to believe how thick this thing is. Bam! I mean, if you look from here, the thickness here, this way, is almost as thick as where it meets the heel. Normally, on a guitar, it'll do a little bit of that and then go up into the neck. No, this is just fat all the way down. And now I love a fat neck. So when I saw this secondhand on Reverb, I saw round back thickness. I went to Robot Graves' website and I looked up what thickness that was going to be, and I thought, okay, I'll pull the trigger on it. I'm getting a good deal on this guy. I can have it very quickly. I like a thick neck. The Jimmy Vaughn Strat has a thick neck, has that weird shape. I'll be into it. But even I wasn't expecting how chunky this thing is. I mean, it's like a baseball bat. I joked around that I want to do use my guitar as a baseball bat, but I never expected it to be this thick. But I also never expected it to be this comfortable once I was used to it. Now, I don't have perfect form, okay? I'm not one of these metal shredders that always keeps their thumb behind there. I understand that that's proper form. I get it. But guess what? That's not how the telly goes, okay? The telly sits this way, and so my arm just tends to kind of do that. And you know what? I've made my peace with it. I don't care. I don't care. I like playing this way. I like playing this way. It's what I'm used to. You know, I play a lot more American-style music, like Americana-style stuff, bluesy stuff. Yeah, it works for me, okay? I know a lot of people would think that this type of neck profile is sacrilege. And to those people, I have nothing, I guess, good for you. Just get a thin neck, you know? So this neck is chambered. Now, only the round back, only the thick ones are chambered. Because if you had a solid aluminum neck that was this thickness, it'd be way too heavy. Like, okay, this is a good segue into weight, okay? Because everyone's always talking about weight of the aluminum neck. It's a heavy guitar now. I've made peace with that. If you are gonna use an aluminum neck, it's just gonna be heavy. There's no getting around it being a little heavy. But one thing that you can do to assist is get the right strap, get the right height. You know, hell, like this is where it kind of tends to sit. It'll dive a little bit, for sure, but also your right arm tends to stabilize this way anyway. So I don't find it to be that big of a deal. I don't find it to be that big of an issue. In fact, I'm not just coping because of the money that I spent on the neck. I do like the heaviness of it. It does feel very stable, right? Having a neck that's very stable makes my playing feel more stable, if that makes any sense. Like, if this was a really light neck, every time I'm moving the neck around, it'd be doing this, right? But because this has a little mass to it, it feels stable. That's what I like about it. I don't mind the mass. I made peace with the mass. You know, there's lots of solutions to neck dive that can help. I don't know. That's just something you're going to have to live with. People play SGs, and they have for years, and those neck dive terribly, and people love them, right? So here's another part of this philosophy, right, is I don't want a hyper-ergonomic guitar. I want a guitar that I think is cool, okay? And this is another thing that we need to talk about with the aluminum necks, right, is that aluminum necks are very cool, okay? I can't disagree with anyone on that. I think it's super cool to have a shiny, robotic, machined neck on a guitar. I think it's awesome. I love the feel. I don't mind the coldness. People think that will become an issue. I don't find it to be an issue at all to have a cold neck feel. I mean, I'm not typically playing outdoors. Who knows if that would have an effect on how much you like it. If you're only playing outside in the cold, maybe. Okay. I don't know. And tuning-wise, too, people say, oh, well, the neck heats up with your hand over time, and that expands the neck, and then that throws your tuning out of whack. I've been playing this thing for like a month. I have never experienced that once. I've put it back, and that's with a trem, without a locking nut. So I'm asking for problems right now. I'm still debating whether to put a locking nut on this, if it's even worth it to drill through it. God, I don't want to drill a hole in this thing. So I'm thinking about doing like the floating locking nut behind here to assist in stability. I've never had any tuning stability issues with this. I've never felt that the metal is expanding and causing me to go flat or go sharp. So going along with the thesis of wanting the Indestructocaster and the guitar that never needs maintenance, no truss rod on this. No truss rod on any good aluminum neck. And that, I think, worries people because they're used to having some relief in their neck, and golly, you would have to put some tough strings on this guy to get some relief in the neck, which is why it's appealing to a lot of metal players. I see why metal and hardcore guys are interested in aluminum for that reason, because you can put whatever gauge string you want on this. It will not move. I mean, you could put You could probably put bass strings on this, and I don't think it would give you much relief, if any. But the straightness of the neck, the perfect straightness, and I'm using 10s, not 9s, so not the heaviest strings, but also not, nothing. And it is just it's so straight, unbelievably straight. And I was worried about that initially because in the high register with a perfectly straight neck, you can sometimes get a little bit of high action in the high register with a perfectly straight neck. But these necks also have a 12-inch radius instead of a more traditional Fender 9-inch radius. So your bending is fine. So you can bend as far as you want. I've never had any notes crap out on me, and this is by far the lowest action without notes crapping out on any guitar I have ever played. And that's in part due to the collar bridge system, because you can get it so set up so precisely, but also just the fact that this is a straight aluminum neck. It is so straight, it doesn't move while you're bending, doesn't move while you're tuning. There's no high radius to have notes bend out. I gotta get some coffee in me. So there's a lot of perks to the aluminum neck, but there are trade-offs. Cons, it's heavy. It's still pretty expensive. The only reason I was able to buy this was because I traded in another guitar and I had the money, and I've been looking at this for a while. Finally pulled the trigger on a used one. A long time to get it custom made is another con. So I didn't have to get mine custom, I got it used. But if you're getting this custom, it's probably going to be a month, at least a month wait to get one. And I've heard of guys from companies waiting 6 months to a year or longer to get their neck done because they just have so many orders. I mean, it just takes a long time to machine something that is going to be handled every single day to perfection, and to not cut you and all this other stuff. There's a lot of precision engineering that goes into this. And speaking of different companies, there's a lot of different options for aluminum necks. And I'll give you kind of the overview that I saw from looking into it, right? So on the lowest end of the spectrum as far as price, you have Hoxie or Hoxie guitars. They're in Florida. These were the first ones that I got advertisements for because I always viewed aluminum necks as prohibitively expensive. But as soon as I looked into Hoxie, I see as low as $350. That's pretty good. Well, they don't really tell you that that's because $350 would be no fret dots, no markings, basic Graph Tech nut, like just the bare essentials. No special finishing, no block inlays, nothing. It is just a solid neck. And yeah, to get started, that might not be a bad looker. If you don't mind not having fret markers, that's up to you. Pretty cheap. However, I do know with Hoxie, and I'm not trying to trash anyone, that their politics are not great. So if that is important to you, I probably wouldn't buy from Hoxie unless you really wanted a good deal on one of these necks. But Hoxie, interestingly, also just started licensing official Fender necks. So that was something that I almost pulled the trigger on for this guy because it's a Telecaster. I thought it'd be cool to have a true Tele style neck, right? Like a headstock shape. So good for them for doing that, but again, their politics, I've heard, are not great. So I would avoid that if that's important to you. That's Hoxie guitars. I've also seen on Reddit that they have questionable quality control, which isn't surprising given the price. I take that as you will. I haven't owned a Hoxie guitar neck, so I can't speak on that. But other than that, I also hear pretty good things. So another big builder that you probably have seen on YouTube if you're interested is Illuminati guitars. They have amazing branding. They have chambered necks that are pretty light. They also make bodies and full instruments out of guitar too. Full instruments out of aluminum too. So they make custom pieces, they make signature pieces. Hoxie is branching into body styles. They make like acoustic Telecasters and stuff now. But Illuminati has their own vibe. They're very cool, their owner is very cool. However, I gotta say, they tend to hawk some of the tone wood type debate stuff where they say, oh, well, aluminum is so resonant and deep and rich and it will improve your sustain. And I'm like, guys, we have been over this. Jim Lill has been over this a million times. Do we have to have this debate again? They're very pricey. They're some of the priciest that you can get right now. I think typically you'll spend $1,100 on a neck. But they seem to be of the utmost quality and they seem to have been very consistent as far as their quality control, seems like a great all-around choice. If you have the money to invest on the higher end, I would go with Illuminati. Electrical Guitar Company seems like a great choice too, but from poking around on forums, I've seen that they have had trouble fulfilling orders in the past, where people are waiting for like a year plus for their stuff. But this isn't surprising because there's been a huge upsurge in interest in aluminum instruments in the past couple of years, so just do your own research. They seem to have a great reputation for build quality, but they seem to be a little bit lacking in timeliness. But again, a lot of these companies are like two dudes, so with one CNC machine, so you can't really be too mad that they're taking their time, doing all the frets and making sure it's high quality. Robot Graves is the neck that I went with. I got it secondhand in matte finish. So I believe that was custom because I think that they come polished, and I'm kind of glad that it's matte because you see photos of them polished, and the second you even touch it, you're leaving fingerprints all over it, and it gets all grimed up. I was never a big fan of polished finishes, so the matte fingerboard and matte neck, I'm very happy with. You can see on the back it's satiny. It's just a lot of upkeep to keep something polished constantly. I don't want to have to deal with that. And you also have a ratio locking tuners. Those are pretty standard with aluminum necks. They tend to be just because of I don't know why they go with ratio locking tuners, but I also learned the hard way that you don't have to clamp the lock down so hard that the string breaks, because I did that the first time I set up the guitar, and I broke my high E and my high B at the same time. Because I had never used locking tuners, and I really should have looked into it. I'm used to like a Fender vintage style tuner, like a Grover Deluxe type thing. I'm never used to locking tuners, so just beware when you set it up for the first time. This is just a repository of just random information. Robot Graves also makes something called the tunable harmonic resonance device. So if you're a Jazzmaster Jaguar type, it's a piece that goes behind the bridge. You have a lot of string space behind the bridge, and people have fucked with those in very cool ways in the past, just plucking those for ambience or putting pickups behind there. But this is something that you can use to tune the note. So you could tune it in octaves with your regular string, or you could tune it to like a different chord. So you could do like here, and then you could have like an A on this side, which is very cool, but also something that I'm not super interested in. But just know Robot Graves is doing a bunch of really innovative stuff. I think that out of all the aluminum guitar companies that I've seen, I think that he's probably branching out the most as one guy doing it by himself, as far as I know. Baguli in Germany is also a great choice. Their take on the all-around aluminum guitar is amazing. They have these great instruments. They have kind of a soft offset kind of body. It's very retro 50s future type design. You got to check those out for yourself. Baguli seems to have a very good reputation as well. Volino doesn't exist anymore, but Volino I have to talk about because Volinos are going for like $30,000 online now. You might know about Volinos from the In Utero sessions with Nirvana, and you might know about them from Aaron Rash. I originally learned about them from Aaron Rash's videos. He says that he's going to start building Volinos again with a very headstock design, so he doesn't get totally sued, which would be pretty cool. And he said he wanted to take orders, pre-orders on those. Aaron Rash is one of these guys who's chasing the exact album tones on In Utero and has been for years. Go check out his channel. His video on the Volino got me interested in aluminum necks and aluminum bodies because they do kind of have this specific sound unplugged. I don't know if they have a specific sound when they're plugged in or if it's just the pickups. I don't know anymore. I'm inclined to believe that it is more of a setup and pickup configuration, but who knows? I can't say for sure. I don't think that you should buy an aluminum neck, an aluminum body because of the tone quality. I think you should buy it because it's cool as hell and it's indestructible and you'll never have to set it up again. But the Volinos were used in Steve Albini's studio, and Kurt Cobain used a Volino on lots of different tracks and In Utero. So you should check those out. They look really cool. Those kind of got popular, and then he stopped making them, and then he passed away, and so now they're all of a sudden a collector's item. Another one that I haven't heard anything about is Aleph guitars from Tel Aviv, Israel. They seem to be like a moderately priced aluminum guitar neck. I'm not sure when they popped up, but I searched aluminum neck, and I haven't seen anyone talking about them, so I don't know. Somebody give them a try. See how they go. I want to dispel some things, some rumors about aluminum necks that I've been seeing floating around on forums all over the place. So here's myth busting time, okay? Kramer necks in the 70s and 80s were made from cast aluminum that was of questionable quality. So Alex from Robot Graves, he's a very handsome man, and he explains that when aluminum necks are cast, it causes invisible stressors in the metallic structure of the aluminum that can cause warping. So you can't really cast an aluminum neck and have it be of high quality. It's very difficult to cast aluminum that will take stress. So he and everyone else who uses new techniques uses pre-tempered aluminum billets, and then they cut those into the correct shapes. So you know that it's of the highest quality. You know that all the steel, you know that all the metal is relaxed, which makes it strong. Have I talked about everything that I want to talk about? I've even seen some weird aluminum guitar necks from Italy in the 60s called the Wandre, and the neck is like a pipe. It's like an aluminum pipe with the fingerboard on top of it, and they're like huge collector's items. So people were experimenting with aluminum way back in the 60s. And then, of course, Travis Bean. How could I not mention Travis Bean? Probably the most well-known maker. He would make the neck and the headstock, and then this portion connected to the bridge, all one solid piece of aluminum, and then the body would kind of go around that. That makes the entire resonant structure out of aluminum. So they're incredibly durable. Travis Beans can be upwards of 13, 14 pounds. Because they're solid all the way through. But Travis Beans are like the collector's version. They're still expensive, but they are within reason. And his wood grain that he would use was beautiful. So you get this, incredibly machine quality, steely kind of look, and then you get like big, bird's eye kind of maple or other kind of like very oily kind of wood that are beautiful. So this whole industry right now is kind of the Wild West. It's the type of topic where you dive into it and there's some well-produced content about it, but not a lot. And a lot of the better produced content tends to be like metal bros with acrylic mockingbirds and aluminum necks, playing like a 15, 16 pound instrument and just like, playing fucking... I'm not looking into aluminum just because it looks industrial as fuck and is literally metal. The reason that I want an aluminum neck and the reason that I love this guitar is because this guitar disappears. I feel like gear acquisition syndrome is a real problem for a lot of people, and myself in the past included. You keep thinking to yourself that the next guitar will be the one that inspires a song, that brings you popularity, that brings your group some level of fame or fans, and finally makes you whole, finally fills that hole inside you that you're trying to fill. But that relief never comes. And the anticipation of waiting for a guitar to come in the mail is what's preventing you from practicing, because you're thinking about playing in the future, and you're not viewing playing as something you should be doing right now. You may have a couple of extra hours of practicing when your new baby, your new toy comes in the mail, but when that novelty wears off, it doesn't continue, right? It's not sustained. I want the novelty to never wear off again. I want to commit to an instrument that I can take anywhere, an instrument that I could use as a baseball bat. I want it to outlast me. This is the appeal of the aluminum neck to me, is to make playing the guitar the important part. Not the truss rod, not the action, not making tiny minute adjustments, not modding, not waiting for shit to come in the mail. This was the last time that I am ever waiting for guitar parts for my personal playing to come in the mail for me to actually decide to play. I'm just gonna play now. Let's just play. I have what I want, what I've always wanted. Now let's just play. This is the last guitar. This is the forever guitar. My last shiny new toy. Now I can focus on buying pedals. I want to be very, very clear about my philosophy. There's negligible mojo about the tone quality of aluminum. I don't care what Aaron Rash says. I don't care what Illuminati Guitar says. Maybe at like an incredibly granular level, there is some sustain that is extra from the molecular structure. But tell you what, if there's a 1% difference, you're not going to notice it in a mix. And you'll have a lot more of a sustain difference from blasting it with distortion. Like, that'll give you sustain 1,000,000 times over compared to your thing. Like, that would imply that people who buy aluminum necks are playing clean, and they never are, right? So, sustain. You're adding 10,000 gigawatts of sustain with your fucking metal zone and your Marshall stack. Like, please do not buy an aluminum neck because you believe in some metallic resonant tone frequency response. Like, you make fun of guys for believing in tone wood, and then you buy a metal neck because you think the tone is going to be better than tone wood. Like, that feels a little hypocritical to me. So much sustain comes from just having a good setup and having reasonable action and not having dead strings. Jim Lil has you guys still reeling over the whole Tonewood thing and being triggered in the forums. And while you're out there arguing on your computer alone, someone else is out there practicing and getting better than you. And on a guitar that costs half as much as the Les Paul that you just dropped 2 weeks worth of pay. So maybe it's hypocritical for me to say that after spending all this money on this aluminum neck. But come on, it's pretty cool. I think that cool factor is important. I don't want that to be misconstrued in my understanding of this either. I think that having a guitar that you think is cool is as important as having a guitar that you think is functional. In fact, having a guitar that's cool almost trumps functionality in getting you to want to play it, right? If you have a guitar that looks cool as fuck, that makes you look cool on stage, you can kind of pass on some of the functionalities, right? I mean, if it was all about functionality, everyone would be playing multi-scale, headless, you know, like Tosin Abasi type beat guitars, but there's a different type of mojo in those. So I guess here's my thesis. Buy it because it's cool. Buy it because it's a budding industry with more choices than ever, with a lot of cool local builders that will build you whatever you want, custom if you have the money for it. And buy it because it'll outlive you. And buy it because you can set it and forget it. Buy it because it will make your guitar disappear and it will make the music come more easily for you. That's why you should buy an aluminum neck. That's my video.